City of Apache Junction Health and Human Services Commission meeting to order. A pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Chair Gerstner,
Here.
Vice Chair Bory,
Here.
Commissioner Erickson,
Here.
Commissioner Mitchell,
Here.
Commissioner Kinner.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Do I have a motion on the approval of the agenda?
So moved.
I'll second that.
Roll call.
Commissioner Erickson,
Yes.
Commissioner Bory,
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell,
Yes.
Commissioner Gerstner,
Aye.
Commissioner Kinner.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Do I have a motion on the approval of minutes? Roll call.
No, you need a motion.
Oh, motion.
I move that the regular meeting minutes of March 22nd, 2021 be approved.
I second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Kinner,
Yes.
Commissioner Gerstner,
Aye.
Commissioner Mitchell,
Yes.
Commissioner Bory,
Yes.
Commissioner Erickson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Consideration of Fiscal Year 2021-2022 Health and Human Services Funding Recommendations to be presented to City Council at the May 17th Council meeting. Does the Commission have any comments or questions?
Okay, Madam Chair, the Commission had asked to send Jill and I the questions that you wanted answered by the nonprofits rather than spending 4 hours interviewing them and having them go through their application. So, did you send them the questions?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Jill sent the questions back to you, and my question is, if you've looked at those, did you have any questions on those, or were you satisfied with the answers? And then Jill has also pulled up the spreadsheet where you can plug in the numbers. You each have received each other's appropriations or recommended funding for the organizations. And at this point, it's up for you to discuss your position on your funding, or if there were any questions that you had of staff. All I can say is council's biggest preference is that the money come back into the community, which, after discussing with the new finance director, if an entity is not able to pay their utilities or pay their rent and they're gone, then those services aren't in the community to help the residents. So it is a very broad definition, and since we have not stated which type of accounting that we require or audit of the records, which financial management program we follow, your ability to cover all of those items, such as utilities and whatnot, is addressed. I just caution you that council does like to see it back in the community to help the residents more. They may consider those operational costs, and if you are in business, they expect you to come up with the funds to cover your operational costs.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I have.
Thank you. Were there any questions about the answers that were provided?
Well, just a clarification. The last thing that you mentioned is that the city does not want us to pay, or the city does not want the grant fund or the funds to pay for operational costs. Is that what I'm hearing?
No, just a
Okay.
caution. Since we have not defined how we look at the funding of this or the accountability of the financial audit, some council may consider those operational costs, which should be covered by any business, because they would prefer to see the money come back as far as in food or in clothing or something of that nature. Distribution of water during our hot summer months, things like that. But it is not out of the realm of saying, well, you've asked for $10,000 to cover rent and this, but on the other token, if that rent isn't covered and those utilities are not paid and that business goes away, then you've lost the service to the community.
Correct.
So it's a double-edged sword.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
I got it. Thank you.
And does that include staff? Then,
If it does include staff, because if the staff isn't there to take care of the needs, just especially with the Boys and Girls Club, if they don't have staff to take care of the kids and initiate programs, then they don't initiate those programs. So it does cover staff as well, and EREs. I know that they just want to make sure that the money is not considered an employment, that the nonprofit does realize that they are going to, if they make that position, they need to cover it, that we may not be funding those positions all the time.
Thank you. As far as the questions that we posed to the agencies, I would like to just thank the agencies for coming back with the answers to those questions, and it did help clarify a couple of things for me.
So now we discuss how we'd like to come to a consensus on each of the members. There are some differences, and there are some similarities.
I suggest maybe we tackle the biggest differences, because it looks like there's, of the 5, 3 of them are very similar across all 5 of us. And maybe it's just the first 2. Maybe we would focus the first part of our discussion on the differences in those.
I had the opposite idea.
Okay.
Maybe go with the easiest first, the ones where we have the most consensus, and work backwards, and then we can kind of chip away, because we know that 80,000 is what is able to be given, and they've requested 112,540. So as much as we'd love to give everybody what they want, we got to cut 32,540. So I think maybe start with what we agree on and work backwards until we get to the point where we disagree.
Either will work.
I think the food bank was where 3 of us actually had the exact same recommendation for full funding. I did see Chair Gerstner and Commissioner Erickson had maybe a little bit less there, but I don't know if we want to take the majority on that and start there, or what do you guys think?
Another way to do it is to take the average of it and to see what that amount is.
That's what I was.
Jill, can you calculate on the Excel spreadsheet? Thank you.
She came up with the correct amount. We both calculated $125,000, but if you divide that by 5, it's 25,000 is your average. Usually my fingers are fat enough to hit double keys.
so 25.
if you like, we can plug that in to the spreadsheet, and then we
Okay.
can move forward, and you can still, at the very end, adjust the numbers.
Okay.
300, 500, 1,000, how you want to do it.
Yeah, if we go ahead with the average of each one, then I think we can start talking
Mhm.
a little bit easier about the differences. Yeah, another way to do this is to look at the priority of what is the greatest need as far as service or what the agency is providing. And when you look at basic needs, food is an extreme priority.
I just did the averages for all 5 and then added up the averages, and we would be at 78,240, so it's not going to give us a full solution on that.
We have a little extra to play with.
Yeah,
But-
and that's what we're really thinking about with a couple of them. I think we start with the food bank and say 3 of us said full funding. If there's any issues there, we start with the 26,000 allocation there.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. So it'd be 4 of us with,
We don't have to move on it, though. We just
yeah.
come to an agreement, write it on this spreadsheet here, and then work backwards from that.
Mhm.
And I'm talking about this one right here, the one. For when we get to the motion.
Oh, she's got it going on the Excel for us to change the numbers.
Oh, yeah.
I think that the average that we came up with at 25 is sufficient.
Mhm.
Well, if we
Let's see,
have that and then
the
just keep
CDC
going.
one,
And then just
Yeah.
keep
Is that
working
one-
on it.
Just
Because
keep
we do
working.
have these that we want to really,
Yep, and that may
focus on.
change as we look at the rest of them.
right. It's a good starting point.
Okay.
So you want me to keep the 25,000 in the food bank for right now? Okay.
yes. Now, the CDC, is that one correct?
No, I'm adding it right now.
Oh, okay, okay.
Average 7,563.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yep.
Well, if we work back,
B and G 23,700.
So even with the averages, Jill will plug the numbers in here shortly, and I think you're just shy of your 80,000.
mhm.
And that looks pretty good.
So if you add those up,
Well, it does work, actually. I must
Yeah.
have my math wrong on the Salvation Army.
Yeah, it does do exactly 80.
okay, good.
Now, at this point, if the commission wishes to discuss lowering one of them or adding to another, this is where you have that opportunity. Or you can just make a motion to,
Is there any way possible if we could give the food bank the full ask and maybe take from the Boys and Girls Club?
That'd be an extra $1,000 to the food bank,
Right.
correct?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
26,000. And, I have no problem with that.
So-
Again, if we look at what is our priority as far as services, I think I would definitely
Yeah.
feel that,
Well-
that providing food.
Food.
Yeah, and if you looked at their financials and what their annual budget is, even the Genesis has a significant budget where they get money from other sources or donations, my apologies. So this is where, if you look at the financial reports that they submit, it kind of tells you how much money they have coming in and going out and who it's from. But, yeah, food bank is pretty local.
Mhm.
I think that's a good idea, because 3 of us all wanted to give the full amount.
Mhm.
It's all going directly to the operational cause, not to the overhead, which I think was a big factor in my decision.
So, do we need a motion?
I don't think we need a motion at this point, but we can just update the spreadsheet and keep moving
I'll
across.
just keep putting your options
Yeah,
as you go, and then you can pick one.
but I'm all for increasing that 1,000
Yeah.
to the full funding.
That's the only suggested change I had. Thank you.
Okay.
So I would suggest that we increase Boys and Girls Club a little bit and maybe pull from Salvation Army, just looking at these numbers. Reason for that is a precedent that's been set in 2017, 2018. Boys and Girls Club requested 30,000 and the council or our group gave them 24,500. So that's where I came up with the number 24,500 on my recommendation, was just following the precedent. And I think that they do a lot of good things in the community. So I would propose that we increase that, taking from possibly Salvation Army or CDC.
I agree.
How much do you want to increase the Boys and Girls Club?
Well, I have put down 24,500. Looking here, I see that we have 22,700, so the increase there would be the difference of those two.
Okay, so the 24,500.
Yep.
Mhm.
And where do you want to take that money away from?
My proposal would be Salvation Army or CDC, but
Or
Obviously.
split
Or
it?
split it
or split.
between the
I agree
two.
with CDC.
Yeah.
I don't agree with Salvation Army.
Mhm. I would lean more towards CDC than Salvation Army, personally, after reviewing all the questions.
And the only issue I have with that is going back to what was said at the top, is that CDC is the community.
Right, and it's the waste, hazardous waste and,
Well, there's a few things that were of concern. I think a lot of the projects that they're proposing are want-to-dos, not have-done. And so we don't necessarily know how much of that is going to get to where it needs to go. And for example, the hazardous waste, when we clarified it, they're just doing transportation of items to and from the drops that are already done by the city. The other thing is, like, I know, for example, the Field of Dreams project that they cited in the answers to their questions with Rotary hasn't not even started yet. So they want more money, but they also have not fundraised on their own as the other organizations have. So I think that'd be my first place to cut, because I want to see more skin in the game. Me personally, that's how I look at nonprofits. If you're not afraid to go fundraise, then we don't. I think in most people in Apache Junction, the ethos of this city is, work hard and you get rewarded, as opposed to let's go and collect off of the entities that are willing to give you the money.
well, and it's just been a really tough year this year with COVID and so many things shut down and not being able to do a lot of the fundraisers, that a lot of these organizations relied on for, a portion of their budgets.
But some of these other agencies are getting COVID relief, correct?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
This would be one that is not.
Well, the Salvation Army, this is the first year that they have requested funding.
Been able to.
And that, I think, is significant. We have, as a commission, been reaching out to the community to find agencies that would be interested in the funding and would be willing to participate. So, you know, it's you know, again, the first year, I think it's good to provide adequate funding to have them significantly make a difference.
I believe with the answers that they gave, they provide a lot of good information about how they're going to use it, very specific details that I could see that happening and see that being necessary too.
Yeah, they had measurable objectives. And that, I think, is something as the commission gets more sophisticated, as our agencies get more familiar with how to seek funding, that they will get a little more sophisticated in their ability to write goals and objectives that are measurable, because that's how we're able to fund, really. And I think, you know, as we look in the future, I would hope to see more agencies being able to provide very specific objectives that can be measured, and they can tell us at the end of the year exactly what impact in the community that they've been able to make.
So Chairman Gerstner and Commissioners, you did ask about, you know, where the funds could be spent, and on the Salvation Army, one of their big things was the swamp coolers. And without that, they wouldn't be able to provide the food service to the community that they do. And so that would be allowed to be covered, because without it, then they are unable to do the job that they're here to do.
And the other thing I was impressed with, they don't have just an uplink to the overall resources of the Salvation Army. It's kind of very localized from what I could see. And I think that's important to take into account, is that even though in my mind Salvation Army is huge, they're not able to just call those resources quickly to Apache Junction. So this is going to be used in a very specific way for our residents. So I definitely prefer to stick with that if we can.
So what is the difference that we're looking at?
1,800.
Okay.
So if we were to split, as originally suggested, it'd be 900 off the two of those.
So that's what that would be. That's if you split it between the CDC and the Salvation Army, 900 each.
Are we in agreement about the Boys and Girls Club then?
Yeah. Well, that education component is really important, especially with the year we've had, the past year we've had. So I'd say yes.
So we've come to an agreement about the Superstition Food Bank and Boys and Girls Club. Any more changes that we need to make to the CDC, Genesis, or Salvation Army?
I think Genesis is good where it is.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to do a 60-40 or a 70-30 split of that $1,800 between the Salvation Army and CDC instead of an equal split.
I would lean more towards giving the entire amount to the Salvation Army as opposed to CDC. That's just me.
I vote with that. I was just trying to be nice.
Oh, yeah, no. Not that I'm trying to be mean to the CDC, I just think,
No,
you know.
I'm not trying to be mean to them, but I
Yeah.
would prefer to, I mean, out of what we have, this is what we're working with. I would prefer they get
Neat.
less. Sorry. So 5763 for them, and then keep salvation at the 1220.
Mhm.
Oops.
That looks good.
Something's off.
Who went up?
So this,
Oh, CDC, 5763.
Well, that being said, I also don't know if we should go below
Oh,
the
yeah.
precedent of giving them less than 6,000 total, only because of the fact that that's what they requested last year. I don't want to dissuade them from being able to approach the city and think it's a losing cause. So I'm not opposed to keeping that at 6,000, but again, that would require a cut from Genesis in that case.
And that's not that much different.
Yeah, it's not that much.
I was the one who said give Genesis the least amount because I got that number from their rent cost. I figured they could handle the utilities, but the rent cost is 10,500.
So you're saying make CDC 6,000 and Genesis then would be?
The difference.
Yep, that would be the only other thing I would do, just because this precedent was set at 6,000 last year. So if they requested the same amount, 24,000, they got 6.
Mhm.
And I do think that we were all in agreement that none of us were close to giving them 24,000. And I think that's good feedback for Dave Waldron and the board to look at, is to say, why aren't we getting more push there? And I think that's, you know, more of an opportunity for them to do more to show that to us in the future.
Looks good.
like that? Okay.
Yes.
Mhm.
Are we ready for a motion then? I think all of us would probably be pretty happy with this, unless there's any other final changes to make. I think it looks pretty good.
Okay.
Mhm.
Do I have a motion on recommendations?
I would motion that we approve the recommendations as they are written: 6,000 to Apache Junction CDC, 24,500 to Boys and Girls Club, 11,300 to Genesis, 12,200 to Salvation Army, and 26,000 to Superstition Community Food Bank.
Roll call?
Nope.
No.
Do I have a
Oh,
second?
I second it.
Commissioner Erickson, second?
Faster than the average person. Okay, now roll call.
Yes. Okay, let me find my sheet. Okay. Commissioner Bory,
Yes.
Commissioner Gerstner,
Aye.
Commissioner Erickson,
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell,
Yes.
Commissioner Kinner.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you so much.
So before you wrap up your meeting, if the chair would like to present the findings to the city council on the Monday night work session of May 17th, that gives council the opportunity to look at your funding recommendations, They may have other questions. They may change the funding amount, but I've not seen that done. But you would need someone to present the findings to council and be able to answer questions to the funding if council has any. And then we move forward from there. So you can, it's not on the agenda to motion or anything, but it's, usually the chair will present, but if the chair wishes to contact somebody on the board and have them present, she can do that as well.
Siri, I'm happy to do it if you're not.
Thank you.
I can make it to that meeting. I'm actually happy. I've never been to a council work session, so I'm happy to bring it there. I wrote a lot of notes down about how we got to those numbers and why, so I'm happy to do it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Unless anybody else also
Anyone?
would like to do that.
Thank you very
Sounds
much.
What time is that meeting, Jennifer?
7 p.m. on 7 p.m. Tuesday, May
Tuesday, May 18th?
17,
Or Monday, May 17th?
Monday.
7 p.m. Monday, May 17th. Okay.
We'll come and back you up.
That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to just be me. I'm just saying I'm happy to do it if need be.
I can't make any promises. 17th. Okay. I'll put it on the schedule. Jennifer, do you have any staff liaisons reports?
I do not have anything to report at this time. I will verify and confirm the date and time when you'll present the findings to council.
Okay, thank you. The regularly scheduled commission meetings are the fourth Monday of each month at 5 p.m. in the City Council chambers located at 300 East Superstition Boulevard. I adjourn this meeting.
Okay. 33. Thank you very much.